everybody. This week on Ask Kristen, I'm talking about pregnancy loss and infertility, which are two things we don't talk about nearly enough. This week's Ask Kristen questions actually came in response to a video I made this time last year about how Mother's Day can be a difficult time for people who grew up, say, without a mom or in more of a mommy dearest kind of situation, or just with a generally difficult woman who is particularly manipulative even on days that are supposedly all about her. For the record, I'm not talking about my own mom. Nance is a champ. In those video comments, I got a lot of requests to talk about infertility, miscarriage, and related issues because those can also make Mother's Day and Father's Day a really tough time for people who are struggling either to become parents or to become parents to another child. Plain Jack asked, could you please do a video on the stigma about infertility? I'm going through the in vitro fertilization process and find it so hard to talk to others about it because I'm so young that no one believes I actually have a problem. Catherine Barclay also asked, please do a video about not being able to have kids. I don't think I'll be able to have children, not because of infertility, but because I have huge mental health problems. A lot of people probably don't know that 10 to 20% of known pregnancies end in miscarriage, or that up to 25% of couples around the world deal with infertility, whether it's difficulty conceiving their first or second child. These issues can be really challenging, and these issues are often privately dealt with because, again, it's something that isn't polite to talk about. I can't speak firsthand to these issues. So for that reason, I wanted to share some of the letters that my Stuff Mom Never Told You podcast co-host Caroline and I received in response to the episodes that we did on infertility and miscarriage, because in no way can statistics convey the psychological and emotional experience of what this is like. Beth wrote, to make a long story short, my husband and I were diagnosed with unexplained infertility about 18 months into our deliberate efforts to get pregnant. And thanks to the journey of infertility, I believe I will be better off for the rest of my life. As you said in your podcast, infertility is often a diagnosis that people take on in silence. Since the birth of my son, I have made a personal commitment to fearlessly talk about my experience, and my hope is that by doing this, I can help one woman at least feel less alone. Karen wrote, my daughter is infertile. It was discovered at the age of 16 when she hadn't started menstruating that she has no uterus due to a birth defect. Just wanted your listeners to know that there are other types of infertility out there. And let's not forget about those who have lost a uterus to cancer or traumatic abdominal injury or a tiny glitch in a neural tube development before their first breath. Becky wrote, my husband and I have been going through infertility for over a year and a half. Throughout that time, I felt very invisible. Hearing your podcast felt so refreshing and even brought me to tears. This process has been so rough, it felt so good not to be invisible. Jeremy wrote in, sharing the experience of his son's death after a preterm delivery. Since our son's loss, we have continued to try getting pregnant without success. Over the years, we've endured numerous expensive, invasive, painful, and demoralizing fertility treatments that my wife is forced to bear the brunt of. You're so right about how infertility is often considered a woman's issue, when in reality, infertility can be caused by either partner, and the psychological effects of infertility affect both men and women. I've shed so many tears over my son's loss that it's impossible to count the number of times I've cried. I've been very open about our loss since it happened and the length of our struggle to conceive in an effort to spread awareness and to start these conversations that need to happen. Liz wrote, I've been dealing with infertility for about 2 years now. It's sad that it's such a shameful and taboo topic, and I don't think it should be a disability because it shouldn't define us. Here's to the hope of changing the stigma and educating others. Finally, Emily wrote, my husband is the reason we were infertile. His body doesn't create sperm. We were Mormons and Christians and going to church every Sunday with a congregation of believers who focus constantly on building families has been an incredibly difficult adjustment. Mother's Day and Father's Day are both painful holidays. Now, dear listeners, if you're comfortable, I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences on these issues in the comments below. Thanks everybody who watched and commented on last week's Ask Kristen video. Are gender neutral bathrooms dangerous? Aquavayo commented, I'm going to school in France and all the bathrooms in my school are gender neutral. I haven't seen anything bad and they're full of horny, hormonal young adults, but no one is skipping classes to go grope girls in the gender-neutral bathrooms. Nick S. commented, as a trans person, I have rules. Go to the bathroom before you leave the house. Know who has single-person bathrooms. These are the safest option. If you have to go and can't leave, hold it. If I really, all caps, have to go, I go home. I know too many people who have gotten bladder infections, UTIs, even kidney infections because of this, and it's terrible. But you never know if that guy in the bathroom you're about to go into is the type to try and bounce your head into the sink. As always, dear friends, ask me your questions so I can give you some answers.